What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yeah.
So, Nick, one of the fights that I am most looking forward to on this absolutely stacked UFC 267 card is Petr Yan versus Cory Sandhagen. Interestingly enough, these two guys, everybody's saying this is the real title fight. This is for the best bantamweight in the world. But on paper, both of these guys are coming off losses.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But, you know, Petr Yan kind of has an asterisk next to it because, I mean, he was dismantling Aljamain Sterling. And then an illegal shot kind of wound up giving him the L. But that rematch is definitely on the horizon, and it will be for a title. But we got to move on with the division. Aljo's not able to defend a title right now, so we got to move forward, and everybody kind of knew Petr Yan needed it, even though he came off that loss. As for Cory Sandhagen, he did lose that fight against TJ Dillashaw, and I thought he lost it. But when you come in second place to a guy that should be getting the next title fight, and then that guy has to go get surgery and you don't, then you're batter up, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that these other two guys, it's interesting that they're both coming off losses, but there's a good story behind each one of those situations. And I do think that on any given night, Cory Sandhagen could potentially be the best bantamweight in the world. I know for a fact Petr Yan can be the best bantamweight in the world, and I do happen to think that there's no bantamweight currently that can beat Petr Yan, so I'm really excited to see him in action.
I'm right there with you, and I don't want to give away my prediction too early, but I'll just say I don't think there's anybody in the world that can weigh 135 pounds the day before a cage fight and beat Petr Yan in a cage fight. I think, and I've been watching this Road to the Octagon, some of the great content the UFC's put out. Looks like Peter's done a lot of his training camp in Russia. I don't know if, I know he was at Tiger Muay Thai in Thailand, but he had some problems with visa and travel because of COVID, ended up doing the last half of his camp at American Top Team in South Florida for the Aljo fight. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, with some new bodies, some new looks, what he comes in and shows us this go round. But his Muay Thai and his striking, I think, is unmatched in the UFC's bantamweight division. Cory Sandhagen, also very good, very long, uses some really good feinting and jab work to set up really nice flying knees and unorthodox kicks that hit you from weird angles. So this is going to be a striker's dream match.
Yeah.
Now, I agree that this is for the best bantamweight in the world. I thought that TJ Dillashaw did beat Cory Sandhagen, and I do think he's got a chance against Petr Yan, but with him on the sidelines, and I wouldn't be mad at you if you told me that you thought Cory won that fight against TJ.
Right.
That was a very close fight,
right.
And we know what happened with Petr and Aljo. So even though both of them are coming off of losses, I do believe that the winner of this fight can say they are definitively the best 135-pound fighter on the planet, and I think that person's going to be Petr Yan. You see how much power he throws for being such a small guy. He's very economical with his shots. You know, when he fights, you're like, man, Petr Yan is and he's very, I don't want to say basic in like a derogatory term, but like almost in a complimentary term. He does the fundamentals better than anybody else. He throws a jab, he throws a straight, he throws a body kick, and he throws a switch kick, and he mixes some elbows and knees in there. It's as pure Muay Thai as you're going to see inside of the UFC, but every shot has bad intentions on it. Every shot is aimed to move his opponent a little bit and a little bit closer and closer to being finished and being mentally checked out. And I've not seen somebody throw with that type of velocity, power, and intensity at bantamweight in quite some time.
Yeah, I think you're right about his fundamentals. I mean, he's got him down to a T. The only person that does more impressive Muay Thai maneuvers than him is Rafael Fiziev, and you know, those two guys kind of come from the same area and same place. So I do think Petr Yan is head and shoulders above everybody else, and his striking's really crazy. Also, his clinch work is really, really crazy, and his trips. You know, a lot of people always wonder about the UFC and what's the best discipline to come in with. And wrestling is one that people settle on a lot, and I can understand why they would say that. You know, you can dictate where the fight takes place, but when you have certain people that are able to understand that they didn't come with a wrestling background. Understand that they didn't come with a grappling background. They have to kind of improvise and adapt and overcome that situation. Look at Valentina Shevchenko. She takes people to the ground just as often as some of the best wrestlers, but she does it in a different way. She does it with body ties, and she can get a hold of the top portion of their body and take them to the ground. Whereas most wrestlers look for singles and doubles, and they can chain those wrestling techniques together. So Peter Yan's kind of similar to her. He'll get a hold of a clinch grip, or get a double unders and get up under their arms and take them down that way. He's got really smooth trips. So I think when I look at this fight in particular, and I don't want to discredit Cory Sandhagen because he's a great fighter, I keep reverting back to, I think that Cory Sandhagen has to catch him.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's nowhere to hide in the UFC's octagon. And if you're in there with Petr Yan, you're going to get found. He's really good at a game of hide and seek, and he always seeks and finds. And I just think that Cory Sandhagen's key to success is catching him with something unorthodox. And he's one of the best at doing that, shocking people with crazy
Frankie
strikes.
Edgar. Yeah.
Right. Knees, jumping knees, explosive stuff. But Petr Yan is very seasoned, very experienced, and you can't just, catch him. I don't think you're just going to catch him. I think that Petr Yan has the ability to wear you down, wear everybody at 135 down, and eventually take them out. And I think he's going to take Sandhagen out with his crazy striking. I think it's going to be a TKO. I don't think he's going to finish him, but TKO, referee stoppage in like the third or fourth round.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be with Petr Yan. He accumulates just so much damage that he can get the TKO finish in the middle rounds or towards the end of the fight. But I think that you're absolutely right about his ability to take people down. And Valentina and even George St. Pierre, people that were not brought up in the traditional wrestling circuits or on the jiu-jitsu mats through the jiu-jitsu belt system, but somehow find a way to make grappling work for them inside the MMA cage. We talked about Khabib not being an Olympic wrestler. However, he's probably the most dominant grappler that the UFC has ever seen. I don't even know that he has a belt ranking in jiu-jitsu. I know that he does in Sambo, but you see certain people, they make certain styles work for them. And it really opened my eyes when we started training Muay Thai and we would do clinch drills with certain really high level guys. And I feel okay in my takedown defense, but I was getting swept left and right by certain things that I'd never seen before, right. Breaking the posture with collar ties and off balancing and foot sweeps. Petr Yan does that extremely well. Mm-hmm. Cory Sandhagen does have the advantage that he's going to be several inches taller, so snapping down an opponent that's that much taller than you and getting foot sweeps might be a bit of a challenge, but I think it's one that Petr Yan is certainly up to task for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. And Petr Yan, if you've seen some of the footage around him and some of just like the Instagram posts, the social media, he looks like he's in the best shape he's ever been in. And Cory Sandhagen, he looks like he's in good shape. He's the kind of guy that kind of fights year round. He's not one of those crazy fighters that only trains when he has a fight booked.
Yeah.
He's a true martial artist, but I just think physically he's going to kind of get overwhelmed. I think Petr Yan's at a different level, both technically and physically and athletically, and I just think that he's going to be too much for Sandhagen to handle. Sandhagen said he likes a long fight camp, and he's only had usually has 10-week fights, and this one he only had a 6 or 7 week fight camp. So that can feel like when you go into fight week, like you're underprepared or you didn't have enough time to do all these things, especially if that's what you're used to. So I think those types of things will be an issue for him. I think Cory doesn't deal with pressure too much, so he's going to be all right in that front. But Petr Yan's just, he eats pressure for breakfast. So I'm going to see Petr Yan do his thing. I think it's going to be a competitive fight while it lasts. But as the fight continues, Petr Yan's going to pull away, and then eventually get the job done.
Yeah, I think you're right. And when trying to devise a prediction for this video, I came to the same conclusion you did, which is that Cory Sandhagen needs to knock Petr Yan out. Yeah. And he needs to probably do it relatively early in the fight in order to be successful. And then I started to think about, well, how could he get that done? And as you said, Petr Yan is he seeks and finds. Mm-hmm. So he's going to land his shots. But when you see him fighting, even when he's the aggressor, both hands are up where they're supposed to be. If a kick comes his way, he's checking it. If it's too high, he blocks it appropriately and responds with something. He's so fundamentally sound with his defense and so economical with his shots that he engages on his terms and he defends very well. So as much as I like Cory, and I think as a guy who's, still entering the prime of his UFC career, could be and probably will be a champion at some point in bantamweight, I don't think he's quite there yet to defeat a really complete fighter like Petr Yan, and for that reason, I'm gonna pick Petr Yan to win. And we don't usually do this, but I'm gonna go exact same prediction as you: 3rd round TKO finish for Petr Yan. I think that's spot on.
Yeah, I think that's just the safest thing to go with, and the odds are kind of close, so I wouldn't bet on this one because you're not going to make too much money one way or the other. But
if you're a Cory believer, I think it's 2-to-1 odds. So if you put 100, you can win back 200. You can win back your 100 plus 200 more.
But that goes back to us saying he has to catch him. And that's what I truly feel is the situation here. And at 135, it generally takes more than one shot.
Yeah, especially for somebody as tough as Yan.
Absolutely.
Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Let us know in the comments, do you agree with our prediction of Petr Yan, or do you think Cory the Sandman is going to get the job done? We always love chatting with you guys in the comments, so keep them coming. And if you haven't already, a like on this video and a subscribe to the channel is always much appreciated. And guys, we will see you in the next one.
Peace.